At Skyline Speedway, some of those guys had a problem up there. I was a flagman up there. Leonard Briggs worked with Kuhn up there, the guy that owned the track up at Skyline out of Sugar Grove. Okay. And Lloyd Williams, he might have been up there working too. And they had this guy that owned that place was kind of a problem. So they got out and we got together and talked about if we could find enough land, we'd build a track. You know, us 5 guys. So that's what we did. We found the land.
You run down on your feature event, 25 laps. On the pole is car number 98, Bud Finale of Jamestown, New York, a 1957 Chevy. Off the pole, car number 20, Keith Warner of Titusville, PA, a 1956 Ford. Second on the pole, car number 20, or car number 40, rather. Herb Gustafson, I understand, is from Titusville, PA. Off the pole is car number 96, Leon Lindstrom of Northeast PA, a 1957 Ford. Third on the pole, car number 102, Bud Gardner of Warren, PA. Off the pole, car number 220, Chuck Piazza of Jamestown, New York, a 1956 Chevy. Next on the pole, car number 1, Marv Thorpe of Sugarville, PA.
Your car number was number 1, and why? Why number 1?
Number 1, the first car I had was that Hudson with a seat and a steering wheel and a roll bar.
Yeah.
And wagon went about that wide over, and the only number it fit was number 1.
Wow.
So I stuck with that forever. And, I was up at Lancaster, New York, on a blacktop track. I wasn't geared for it, so I put big tires and wheels on the back of the car. The right back wheel come off, but it didn't go down, it stayed up. And I started rolling. I went end over end. I went over Squirt Johns. Oh. And Squirt reminded me that my helmet come out the window and he thought my head was in it.
He told us that.
Yeah.
He said he was scared to death.
Yeah, he was running second at the time. I was leading the race, but then that wheel come off. I just took a ride. Then when the 4th of July came, we had fireworks.
Remember that?
That created little problems around the farmers. It shook their cattle up, I guess, all that banging and snapping and cracking. So then we had a little problem there, but not too bad. They didn't last long because the fireworks weren't that big a deal.
Yeah.
But when Lee Petty was there, I was racing that night. And he come in the pit and he said, I was parked right beside him, and he said, some of the boys like to play a little bit, and I said, well, maybe. He says, I'll play with them. I guess Squirt bumped him out there on the track, and he wasn't too proud of that.
Well, I think Lee's got him back, too, according to Squirt.
Yeah. There was Shirley Rollins of Texas, he won, and Bob Duell, he was from Frewsburg, and he drove a car for Midtown at Daytona. Bob Duell, he drove down there. Kenny Johnson drove a Hudson. Emery, he had mostly Buicks that he run. And John Seeley and my brother Don were kind of in partners on a car, on a Ford they had at one time. L.D. Austin, I don't know. Bill Moore. Lee Petty was there. And Bud Finelli was there. Johnny Walker. Bob Snar, Tyler, Bud Gardner. Yeah, I was there. Dean, when I was flagman, that was Dean won a lot of races, you know. And every time we'd get out there to line him up, you know, he always had to start in the back. He'd grumble and growl about that. And then he'd win the race, and when I'd take the flag up to his car, I'd say, "You happy now, Dean?" "Oh yeah," he said, "I'm pretty happy now." But why do I have to start in the back? He didn't like that. When they worked on their race cars, instead of jacking them up, they just flip them over on the side and work on them, and then flip them back down. They was ready to go, you know. Yeah.
Or maybe
Yeah.
the two wheels there.
That was that Dodge I had.
You could tell from the bottom of it, can you?
Yeah. It came back down. I didn't go over. Floyd Finelli was behind me, and he says, I kept watching that. Front wheel kept coming higher and higher every lap. I was leading the race, and she got up pretty high, and then I dropped her back down and had to slow down.
What got you up there? Did you run over something? Or
Oh, no, it
something
was just, I went into the turn too fast, and
Really?
it just picked it with. I was picking that front wheel off all night, and that didn't bother. Handled okay, and I kept getting faster and faster, and this time we got too fast. See, and she come right up, and then I let off on it and turned, and it come back down. And Floyd Finelli's behind me. He said, "There's another guy in the world that'd bring his car back down when you're that far up." He said.
Do you remember your first win at Stateline?
Yeah, that was a 50-lap race.
Was it really?
Yeah.
It was a big one.
Looks like a 4th of July race.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is the picture. Because he's holding the trophy. I wonder if that's the 50-lapper.
Where am I here?
Right here. Right there.
Oh, yeah, I got that trophy out in my garage.
Kenny Johnson. I know Kenny personally, and he actually raced somewhat in NASCAR races, didn't he?
He went to Daytona
Yeah.
a few times, with a car, but he didn't do very well down there. But they did go. I don't know who all did go, at that time. But Kenny was a little rough on the track.
Was he?
I know one night he put me in the fence, and when we were coming in, when the race is over, Russ was on one side and Frank Leffner was on the other. They'd worked on my car, and they had a few words for Kenny, and before he got out of his car. So it kind of ended that. He didn't bother anymore. Tom was an aggressive driver. He's like
It's so political.
he's like Earnhardt, like Mr. Earnhardt used to be.
Yeah.
He'd give you a little bump and then go by, and then yep, he is all right. But he's a good driver, but he wanted to win. He was out there to win.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, one night Emery run me right into the guardrails coming out of the 4th turn. We were running hard, both of us, and he kind of lost it, and we both went into the guardrails. And I just looked over at him and I said, "Thanks a lot, Emery."
Yeah.
But that was just one of them things that happened. One bad night when I was flagman, there was a wreck right in front of me. A guy rolled over, and he was in his car, and another guy hit it. Mister, I didn't think things were going to look too good, but it worked out okay. He was lucky he didn't get hurt much. I mean, he was stunned, but that was bad to climb down out of that flag. I had that red flag out and getting everybody in the infield, so they couldn't, no more cars run into him, Occasionally you run into somebody that's a little rough. Floyd Finelli always was quick, he's quick on the temper. And he always told me, he said, "If I get in a fight in the pit and you see me, stop me." I went in the pit one night and there's a gang of people around the car. There's Floyd beating the guy's head against the car. And I looked around there and I said, "Nobody's doing nothing." I went right up and I grabbed him and I said, "Come on, stop." And he looked at me like that and he quit. I always said racing is like being an alcoholic. You can get in it or you can get out of it, but you can't stay out.